Good morning, everybody. How are you guys today? Y'all are kind of quiet at first. I was like, man, no. So I am Nancy Pacheco. I am actually the branch manager here of Align Mortgage Killeen. And so just to kind of give you a little bit of backdrop on Align Mortgage is we are a veteran-owned company that specializes, we educate on our veterans on the military community. We do offer all our other programs, all the other products that real estate offers, FHA, USDA, conventional, but the main focus that we believe in is the VA product. Ricardo's actually going to talk a little bit more about why we educate, but just to give you a backdrop on kind of where our whole story started. So Tony Diaz is our founder of Align Mortgage. He's the one that kind of envisioned this at one point to where he noticed that there was just a community that was not being served. And so he started this with little flyers on flagpoles, on telephone poles is where he started with. And then from there, it just kind of took off. And so Align Mortgage, we're founded off of 4 pillars. It's faith, family, coworkers, and community. And so I've never worked for a company before that our pillars are first, faith. Faith goes a long way. Without God in it, where are we to be at? You know what I mean? So in our entrance there at the lobby, we have our Bible. It's a leadership Bible. And every so often I kind of go in and just close it and reopen it back up. And so when I first heard of Align Mortgage, I was kind of like, this sounds too good to be true. You know, it just seemed like everything they offered, I was like, I've never been in an environment. It's always been like each for itself, loan officers competing against loan officers. And I was like, it just doesn't sound like it was the way it was. So I went down to the corporate office down in San Antonio. And I actually, from there, noticed that it was actually a family. It was like the team worked together in an open area, kind of like a call center setup, but we were all sit together. We didn't have individual offices, where most companies do. Loan officers have their individual offices, assistants have their offices, but we sat in a team setting to where if you felt like you needed help, you could just ask and someone was there to help you. And so to me, that just meant the world because I had always been prior to working where it was all each for their own, figure it out on your own. You couldn't ask anybody because there was no resources. And here we had resources amongst ourselves as well as our leaders and our owners of the company. So that stood out a lot. And so I decided to take the jump back in 2018 of November and crossed over from a different lender, came on board with Align Mortgage, started out as a loan officer, and then just to show them that I could produce. And I launched off for the first 6 months, I was working from home. That was my office. It was my home, and then I had an assistant that worked side by side with me at home. Then finally we ended up getting our office down on Tremere. 6 months later from that, we were right across Ellison High School. Tiny little spot. It was about not even 1,000 square foot building, and we were still kind of in that team setting. Our team grew though really, really fast to where we were like, oh no, now what? And 2 years later, well, we were stuck in that lease for 2 years. So we had to make the 2 years work, but in between that, prior to the 2 years expiring, we started searching for a bigger location that would serve us for what we did. And on top of educating, we wanted something that we could do it all in one. And so now here we are, on Clear Creek. And as you can see, we went from 1,000 square feet to this building here, and there's plenty of room of growth. I'm still consistently looking for loan officers to join my team, just to help continue the education piece of it. We can never have not enough loan officers in our business, honestly, with everything that we do on a daily. So on top of that, they always want to make sure that we have our life-work balance at home, to make sure that yes, you do work, but yes, you also have time to take care of your family as well, to where we can, because in this industry, I'm sure maybe in your industry as well, you can get so just dug into your work 24/7. And they always told us, like, what is it, why to be successful on your own if you're not gonna have a family to enjoy it with, So they always wanna make sure that we have that life-work balance. And so to me, making sure that I have time for my family but still have time for work means the world, because they know, like, if I need to take time out, I can take time out and reset myself. And so not many companies can allow you. They'll be like, hey, well, maybe this is not the job for you. Maybe you need to move on. But here with us, we could be so open and be like, hey, I need to take some time off, Our coworkers, Without our coworkers, we're stuck with them 8 hours a day, 8+ hours a day. So we get to know each other, treat them like family. We celebrate birthdays, we celebrate milestones, we celebrate, you know, everything that they go through, we celebrate with them. So when we embody that culture into our office, you want to come to work. It's not like, oh, I got to go to work, you know? And so to me, that just means like, where else can you get that? You know, and I, as the branch manager, I try to instill that in my team, that this is what our values that we're going to live off of and embody and culture everything into the company. Just like San Antonio carries these values, the pillars, we want to do the same thing out here. And so in reference to that, with serving the veterans as well, it's always nice in the end when they're super excited to get a house. Yes, they may have trials to get to where they need to be at, but we're going to help them through that process. And then the final outcome of where you're at, to see them like super excited, that just means everything. That shows you like you did your job. You did your job and you were able to put a family into a home. We had one last week, the little girl was texting dad, like, pull me out of school. I want to be there as well with you guys closing, because they were super excited. They were closing on their new build, you know? And so to me, for hearing that side of the story, it means like, yes, to us, it's a house for us, but it's actually a home for them. And so that, it puts perspective in different ways. And on our board, as you can see, we've served so many families. These are just families, a piece of what we've served and actually closed in our office, not aside from what we've actually closed at Title or other locations where they might be overseas, like out of state, not quite here yet, where we would send the documents out to them. And so with that being said, you know, this is kind of where we as Align Mortgage come into play. And so from here, I want to kind of pass it off to Ricardo. Ricardo's actually our community relations manager. His official start date will be on the 26th of September. And so he has been my right hand from day one. You know, he was my volunteer for the longest, but he never left my side. He knew how important this was, so he always stood there right by me. So, Ricardo?
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So I was hoping she took a lot more time, but she spoke a lot. So why is it that we educate? We educate because myself as a veteran, I didn't know what I was walking into. Why this company? Because I like what they're doing to help veterans to find out the power that they have with their VA home loan benefit. They say that out of 18 million veterans, only 15% of them only utilize their home loan benefit. Maybe, you know, owning a home is not for a lot of people, but in my eyes, I think if you serve this country, you ought to have the right to own a little piece of the country. It touches my heart because my grandfather, he was a Korean War veteran, and I just learned that about a month ago. I didn't know this. I knew he had retired from the Army National Guard in Puerto Rico. We were actually at my aunt's funeral when I learned about his service. I joined the Army National Guard. I did 2 years, and still nobody knew about the VA home loan benefit. I've been with Nancy 3 years now, and every seminar, the one thing that I always hear is, I wish I would have known this. Or, wow, where were you guys years ago to help me get through this process with no pain at all? So now I'm here. I'm here to help educate veterans. I've always loved educating my soldiers on their job that they had to do in the Army. So now I think I'm at a better capacity now to help share information that I know. I've never been one to keep information to myself because it doesn't help me none. So I'm here to share the information. Like I said, October 6th is our next VA home loan benefit seminar, and I encourage you guys to bring your veteran friends that are looking to purchase a home or looking just to learn about their benefit, to see what power they have in their hands to purchase a home. October 6th, 5:30, from 5:30 to 7:30. You guys are more than welcome. Thank you.
All right. I'm bringing this. Who you are?
Okay, I was born in New York, and my parents decided to move back to Puerto Rico at a young age, and I grew up in Puerto Rico. From there, I joined the Army. I did 2 years in the National Guard. Decided that the life that I was in at that time wasn't just for me, so I decided to go active duty. I followed my cousins prior to me that did the same thing. I seen that they were doing well, and I decided to join the Army National Guard, the active duty Army. I did 20 years, and I retired out of Germany and moved back here because I had my investment home here. So that's what brought me back here. And in the meanwhile, I just worked contracting jobs until Nancy told me it was enough. You got to stay home now. And I just stood by her side and supporting her in her endeavors, and just seeing what she's doing right now is really, I'm more than supportive for her, and I'm amazed at her candor to help people, because that's the one thing that she has in her heart, is helping people to make sure that they get the best service and that they feel that whatever they're getting into is the right thing that they're getting into.
So I'm originally from Corpus Christi, Texas. I was born and raised here, and so Texas is home for me. Out of high school, I was married, and then to a military member who was in the Marines, and we traveled kind of everywhere, and that's where I met Ricardo over in Hawaii, where my marriage was falling apart at that point. And so we kind of stayed in touch after that. Then I had my son, and I realized I had to, just let it go, and had to come back home to reground myself, because at that point I was living with my brother in California. And he tried to keep me like, no, don't go home. And I'm like, I need to reset myself. I need to reground myself. After a divorce, a single mom, I had to regroup myself. And so I called my mom and I said, I'm coming home, and so I went home. I've always been in the finance industry since I was in high school. I was part of the Business Professionals of America in high school. So I know just banking, financials has been my life. And so we had kind of stayed in touch from there. And when I found out he was in Killeen, I was like, where is Killeen? I have no idea where this place is at. And from there, he's like, well, I'll come down and visit you. And I was kind of like, okay. And so we kind of did that long distance relationship for about a year. And then this was back in like 2010. And after that, in 2010, end of 2010, about there, I ended up moving up here. He's like, come up here and move in. And I was kind of like, oh, I need to find a job because I got bills I got to pay, because I was already settled in my loan officer role down in Corpus Christi. And came up here, found a job, and where I was at, it was not the job I wanted. It was a job that paid my bills, but not what I wanted. So he had bought a home prior, and so I reached out to his loan officer, and I was like, what does it take to do what you do? What does it take? And she's like, do you want a job? I said, I don't know. I don't even know what I want. So I went, had lunch with her, and it was Deborah Huddleston. And so that's where I started. I ended up being her assistant for 2 years. After 2 years, I learned the industry. From there, I decided that I wanted to go ahead and branch out as a loan officer individually. And so back in 13, 14 is when I actually branched out as a loan officer, standalone loan officer. And so everything I know, it's been, I've been doing this since 2000, about that time, 14. And I wouldn't change it, honestly. Like, I've always done the consumer side, like personal loans, credit cards, all that side of loan officer. never done the mortgages up until then, and so from then I wouldn't go back. You know, I have, you know, we are commission based. You know, my life is commission based, so it's one of those where you work hard, you play hard. You know, so we are planning our trip for Puerto Rico here in December to the end of the year to shut it out, and we've worked really hard this year, and so now we're going to go and enjoy the rest of the end of the year with family, with the kids, and down in Puerto Rico celebrating Christmas. So, yes.
Yes.
I've heard your story. And I think that's one of the greatest things about this organization is when I hear your story and know you, because it allows me to promote you even more when I get to know you in your heart. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
No, for sure.
Any other questions? Only thing I want to comment on, don't laugh everybody, I retired in 97. There was no guidance here in Fort Hood, and me and my wife, we had to wing it and just try to find out how to get a VA loan and how to get a home. So thank you so much for
And that's what we want to change. We want to change that even when he retired, going through the disability process, it was like, thank you for your service, figure it out. You know, and now soldiers they're walked through how to go ahead and start that process before they even get out. And so just being a resource all the way out.
Yeah, even if you, and I will say, just if you haven't been and sat down in this briefing, please, if you're a veteran spouse, if you're a veteran, if you know a veteran, if you've been around a veteran, sit in this briefing. You will get something out of it, and especially in real estate, you'll definitely get something out of it. And I just can't say that. I mean, I knew a lot of it, but like I picked up a couple things like, hey, I didn't know it. So just come in here, sir. It's really good information. It's good to put it out.
October 6th.
Yes, ma'am.
any more questions?
And the one thing about the seminars also, you're not required to do anything, but just get the information and share it with your fellow veteran. That's it. A lot of people, you know, they feel that, oh, they might leave with a timeshare condo or something like that, you know, things like that. But, you know, I tell my friends that, and they're, you know, it's funny that my friends don't even come, but it's okay. I enjoy that, to see other veterans come in and get that information. I just feel sorry that they don't come because they think they know it. And then, like I thought I knew it, like Ricardo said, no, I didn't know nothing. So